Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Charlie. I just got myself a 2022 Honda Grom. Doing a couple upgrades. Just getting past the break-in period. I'm at about 400 miles, so I haven't done too much to it yet. But what I just did right now is I went for a new gear ratio change. And what everyone usually does is they go to the 17 in the front so they can get a little higher top end. And then I guess invariably everyone has to grind away a little bit on the casing cover here for the sprocket. And it ends up being a big pain in the butt, apparently. And I just didn't want to have to deal with digging into that. So what I ended up going with was a smaller back sprocket and a little bit smaller front sprocket. So I went with a 31 in the back, because originally I thought it was a 15 and a 34 like the old Groms, but apparently the new year, the 2022, has a 38 in the back and a 15 up front. So the ratio is a little bit higher than previous years. And so by going with 31 in the back, I ended up going a little too far, at least for it being stock right now. So I'm tested out the 14 with the smaller sprocket in the back. Now, why this is really, really important and why this is going to actually be way better than doing the 17 in the front is because that back sprocket being so much tinier will give a lot less rotational mass to the whole drivetrain. As well, the chain is now 4 lengths shorter. I got a new one in there, but it's 4 lengths less. Another really weird thing about this year's, the 2022's sprocket, this is the stock sprocket. It's got this major metal washer around the periphery of this sprocket. Now, that's like the worst place to add mass on a sprocket for a rotational mass, because that moment of inertia of this whole sprocket has drastically increased. So not only is this sprocket so much smaller, but it doesn't have this gigantic washer. So presumably that is to help protect the chain from, if it jumps off, from going onto and like eating up your frame, but just be on top of that. I don't seem to have any issues. Everything seemed to line up really, really easily. One issue I did have was the one that I bought. I don't remember the name of the brand. I'll put it in the description below. But the holes that the sprocket went to, the stock, or not the stock, the holes that came in the 31 sprocket I had were actually too small. So I had to take it to my drill press and remount the holes a little wider. I think I had to go to a 0.404. I used my Harbor Freight drill bit set. It ended up being perfect. It was a little tiny bit snug onto it, but it was just enough like I could put it down by hand almost all the way to the bottom. Like last little millimeter needed to be pushed in with the actual bolts. But it worked really nicely. It was a little sketched out by trying to do it, but it was a $40 sprocket. I don't really like throwing that much money away, but it was worth it to try, I thought. And I am more than happy with the final results on this. Now, what this has done, I just got off with my first test run, and I noticeably, what I feel, I can't give you an exact number, but what I feel is that there is very, very little change in my actual acceleration. The amount of mass that seems to be taken out of here just has drastically increased the acceleration coming out of the bat. While I now feel like first gear lasts for days compared to before. I'm sure if anyone who rides bigger bikes, that's like nothing, but it feels like I have like a full, I'm getting up to at least 20 in first gear, it seems like. What I have found now is that my cruising RPMs are much, much lower. It seems like I'm coming in at around 4,000, 5,000 RPM in third gear for the just cruising around at 25 miles per hour, and then 45 to 50 miles per hour. I am in 5th gear at about 4,500 RPM before, and it's got a really nice hum to it that it just didn't seem to have when I was at that cruising speed, and it was screaming at 6,000 RPM before. It just, anyone who's got one of these, I highly suggest going for the 31 in the back and the 14 up front. And what I'll be doing here soon is I'll be adding the Chimera, whatever it is, the intake. I've already got that in. I'm going to be adding the Zoom exhaust at the loop. I will probably have to drill a hole and put a bulkhead fitting for the O2 sensor, because I have the Power Command 5 coming in and an auto tuner with it. So all in all, I think I'll be able to get a little bit more oomph out of it, and probably even go back to the 15 on this and do a full 15 to 31 here, bringing that gear ratio down even further. And doing another 15 here won't add barely anything on it. I might have to put one more link back in the chain, but even then, I've got a lot of room to play here with this chain as it extends. Adding one more link on it by going here might give me a little reduction there, but stay tuned. I'll have more updates for this, and that I'll check that 5 or that 15 up front instead to see if we can't get a good amount of gear or a good amount of upper speed out of this. That mass reduction in the drivetrain just seems to be the best thing I could suggest for anyone to do. Like, before you do anything else on this bike, get rid of this hunk of mass, wasted energy. Spinning that up and down every time you go is going to kill your acceleration. Yeah, stay tuned, everyone. My name is Charlie. Hope you like this. Stay tuned for the updates. Last final thing I found out is really nice, even at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. It's cruising at about 4,500 RPM to 5,000 RPM, and it was about half throttle. I wasn't even close to pinning it. And I know everyone talks about how you can ring the necks on these things, just pin it. So, if you're going to do anything, it was about $40 for the back sprocket, $10 for the front sprocket, and I don't know, $15. I forget. I got a JT chain. It's probably not the best chain out there. I just went with something cheap so we could try this. Sorry about the camera. I hope you liked the information, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.